Hello. Welcome to now the fourth episode of the Great British Builders. I'm here today, joined by Kai.
Hello.
Building Global Chain.
I am indeed.
We're going to be diving into everything about Kai's story, where he's been, where he wants to go, being able to then wrap it all up in what Global Chain's doing. You guys have done incredible work already. You're shipping for Colosseum to be able to go in and win breakout. So I'm excited to be able to share with everyone what you've been doing. Global Chain's been going for a while and has processed over 50 million in volume so far. You already went through the Eagle Labs Accelerator, and a lot of that was like OTC manual. Over the Colosseum, you've been able to build out your stablecoin platform in order to automate and build this out whole process on Solana. So excited to dive into it all. Why don't you just give everyone a little bit of an overview of you and what Global Chain is doing, and then we'll dive into all the fun stuff about your backstory that kind of led you into being a founder.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Great to be here. Thanks, Cap, for bringing me on to this. So I'm CEO and one of the co-founders here at Global Chain. My background is like in transformational technology. Had a great time, building recently. I mean, when I was in Nigeria, I was trying to make payments from from Nigeria to the UK, and the bank manager told me he was gonna charge me 5.5%, and it was gonna take a week and a half. And I was like, absolutely no chance is this the way that payments are supposed to be happening. And stable coins are, the hot thing right now. We've seen a lot of things happening in Europe, in Latin America, and in North America, but the real opportunity in the use case is within Africa, and that's why we're building. So like Cap said, we've done a bunch of OTC manual payments, and really this sprint over the last 2 weeks was to build out that automated platform, build out all our partners, and onboard all of the clients that we have already onto our platform to get transacting. So super excited. It's been great.
Yeah. And where would you then say the story for Global Chain began? Where did you guys first started coming together? You talked about that little story when you were trying to send money back. Where did it begin for you?
Yeah, do you know what? It actually began, and it's funny, people in crypto, I feel like everybody that has run a business has pivoted a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You try something, it doesn't work. You try something else, it doesn't work. You kind of go quiet for a bit while you figure stuff out. And we built a real estate tokenization platform, trying to ride off that property crowdfunding platform, that boom that happened like 2018, 2019. We tokenized a bunch of property, brought onto the blockchain. A lot of people weren't interested in buying our like magical property tokens, right? They didn't really care about it at the time. Real world assets were just like a new thing that was kind of coming in. And I think we had the right idea, but probably wrong timing. Trying to get regulated, spent way too much money getting regulated, didn't get regulated. Obviously, the FCA even now are still troubling guys that are trying to get regulated anyway. But what we figured was, we should probably look a little bit higher up the value chain rather than, trying to sell people these property tokens on the blockchain. How about we just start onboarding people onto the blockchain? So, I went, in all honesty, I went full degenerate on like trading and meme coining for a couple of years. But in 2023, we built like a B2C, kind of swap widget for Africa. Again, got a bit of traction, weren't doing the volumes that we liked, but we realized that the real opportunity was in B2B. So then we just started processing transactions for businesses and like high net worths that we knew. And then quickly our volume started to ramp up. So we just knew that there was definitely an opportunity there.
Awesome. And let's then even like take the story a little bit further back, Well, where did you grow up? What was your childhood life? Because founders are a unique type of person.
Yeah.
As you say, you got to be able to handle the pivots. You got to be able to eat the dirt when it happens. You got to have that grit to continue driving forward. And a lot of these beliefs happen when we're young.
Yeah.
So, to tell us a little bit about how your childhood was and how you grew up.
So I think you'll learn a lot from the fact that I'm the eldest son of the family.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
That is always like, you have to do better than everybody else. You're always like the eldest son. You're always the one that has to set, the example to the other children in the family. So I always had that kind of like on my shoulders. And I've always wanted to build things. I mean, when I was when I was 7 or 8, my mom like bought me this like random robot that I had to put together myself, and I just spent time building it. It was stuff like that that I loved doing from being a child, and I was always interested in technology. Um, I guess this taking it back a little bit, this probably started. What was the question?
What was your story? You know,
Oh yeah,
what's
my
it-
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
so
like, you can always
where-
start like, well, where did you grow up?
yeah, so I grew up in London, lived here for the majority of my life around Northwest London, and I did that thing that a lot of, not I did it, but my parents did this thing to me, that a lot of African kids probably experience as well, where I had to go back to Nigeria as a child at 6 years of age, as a going on holiday for 3 weeks, right? I went with my grandmother, and I actually ended up spending almost a year there. So I thought I was never coming back. It was like absolutely, honestly, I was like, literally, I was in the village of like all these other kids. Like it was actually like proper village living. But the thing about it, I still remember it to this day, and I remember I used to go back. Like after that time, I went back a couple of times as well. But I used to have had these little handheld games, right? And I remember how happy the kids were to just take the handheld game, to the point where I couldn't even say "Don't take my game" because they never played it, right? So yeah, I was there for about a year. Thought I was never coming back. But those kind of stories, like that grit, that like appreciation of how much we have here in the UK, has always stuck with me. You know, so like some of my like little cousins, little nieces, nephews, you know, I just feel like they're lazy, right? Because they just haven't seen what, you know, the other side of the world looks like. They haven't seen the opportunities that we have, and they're not appreciating the opportunities that we have here. So being able to see kind of both sides, I guess, has always instilled in me what I want to do, how I want to get it, the drive that I have, and, you know, where I want to give back to in a sense as well. I've always wanted to, you know, kind of build things in Africa, you know, using like a lot of my knowledge that I've had here, that I've been fortunate to have gleaned here with my education. So that's kind of where it started. And just over time, there's always been that, you know, intention to kind of give back, and to kind of grow and build solutions that are like fit for not only Europe, but also Africa. And really, I guess Global Chain works perfectly because it means that I can own the corridor across Europe and Africa. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, there we go. And
Yep.
what was then like the beginning first point for you noticing when you were growing up that you wanted to start doing businesses?
Yeah, I mean, my mom always tells me this, right? She has a lot of stories about when she knew that I was always going to do this. I was in high school, and you know, back in the days, you had like, you could go buy a pack of donuts, right? And I would like sell the individual donuts to kids at school.
Yes,
I would have Pokemon cards and be selling Pokemon cards. I was always trying to turn a profit, like legally, of course.
Where would you set up shop in the playground? You know, did you have a specific spaces like? At 11 o'clock when it's break time, you come out, you see Kai, you get your goods.
I was always there hustling, regardless. It could be in the back of the class. It could be coming out the toilets after.
Just catching
literally,
bro.
That's it. Buy these cards, man. You buy some cards, buy these sweets. And those times Freddos were like 5p, right? Like yeah.
Complete Freddos. I repeat a 5p Freddo.
Oh man, that says so much about where we are as a country now, and inflation, right? Like 5p Freddos.
That's my penny sweets, man.
Do you know what I mean? I saw them for a £1 the other day. That's a 20x. DJs would be happy with that. Do you know what I mean?
Freddo's like, yeah, boy.
Literally.
That's the real Pepe Frog.
The original
Pepe.
Pepe. Yeah, man. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And yeah, I always wanted to, you know, kind of flip things. Then me and my co-founder now, we started an events company.
Okay,
when we were 16. So we started doing like these obviously at the time there was non-drinking. By the time we got to 18, we started doing like the alcohol parties as well. But we used to like throw events, you know, kind of charge people like £10 to come to these events. When we were 16, it was called Impressions PR. And we used to be like one of the only like kind of like urban events, I guess, in like Northwest London.
Yep.
So that's what we did at that age.
So what were you doing for like your 16, 17? Were you like getting a warehouse somewhere? What venues were you using?
No, so we used to lease. So there was a place in Walsden called Number 8.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you heard of it. I'm not sure if it's even still open, to be honest with you. But we used to rent it from them quite cheaply.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
£300-400. Probably at the time it was quite expensive
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
But then
even for like 16, 17-year-olds, you know, like putting 300 quid down on a room is
Yeah.
it's still like
It's
it's like
significant
someone's
money.
forking out some
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
money right there.
Exactly. And I paid for that actually by working. I remember there was one. My mum used to work at. Have you heard of Belron? So they used you know the company that owns Autoglass.
Yes. Yeah.
Autoglass Repair, Autoglass Replace.
Yeah, I know
Everyone
Autoglass.
knows Autoglass,
Yeah.
right? When you hear that. But she used to work at Belron, and I. This is such a funny story. I'm thinking about it now, it's making me laugh. So you know when you finish school,
Yeah.
and then you had to go and do like work experience, right?
Yeah.
And they put you in different places. They put
Yep.
me in TK
Mhm.
Maxx, and
Okay.
the first day I went to
Classic.
go and do this work experience. They got me a huge box, massive box, right? It was like almost as big as me. And they said what I had to do was literally take out each individual cube. You know the cubes that go on the hangers? And sort them.
Oh, what?
And
It was a huge box of those little
huge
cubes.
box of cubes, all different colors, all different sizes. And I literally had to sort them into like, you know, different colors, sizes.
Yeah.
And like by the end of the first day, I was like, I'm just not doing this. Like, there's no chance I'm spending my work experience doing this. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, like, try and get me some work experience. And then I got a job at Barrett's as well. You remember that old school shoe shop, right? I got a job at Barrett's for the whole summer. Every single day without a break, right? For like 5 weeks of summer, I worked Monday to Friday, like internship. They would pay me nothing. They would pay me like £10. It was experience, right? So pretty much like lunch. It was lunch, right? And then on the weekends, I'd work Barrett's. So like every single day for like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, I was working nonstop, and my salary at the end of the 6 weeks work was £422. And I remember it like yesterday because I was like, I'd worked so hard. And I got £420 at the time. I was like, this is a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? I was super excited about it. So then, yeah, we used some of that money and we started doing the events and stuff. And that went really, really well for a while, to be honest with you. It went really, really well. We had a bunch of people going. It started to get a little bit crazy. So we had to tone it down a little bit and go to a bit of better places. But that was a great time. It was a carefree time. When I was 17, I passed my driving test as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like I was one of the first people in the year with a car. So yeah, it was those are good carefree times.
That's quite fun. Like, and it's proper like entrepreneurial mindset of I made the money, I'm gonna reinvest that money. You know, it's like you made 422 quid and 300 goes on to the venue.
Exactly.
You know, where did the other 120 go? Probably to buy some additional snacks and drinks and things to be able to go there. Like, how did it get going? You know, how did you make it cool enough that people wanted to go there?
Do you know what we
like paying as like even like a 16 or like a 17-year-old, you know, paying 10 quid to go to an event is still like quite a bit, you know?
Yeah. No,
like,
I definitely agree.
What was the secret? What was the source?
Do you know what? We were quite like quietly popular, you know. We weren't like, you know, like the kids that were like really good at football, because I wasn't bad at football, but I wasn't great. Like some of my friends, like my mate Sam, he used to manage the Ghana team, and he was like in the same team as like Harry Kane. And a few of the other guys, right? He was like a really good footballer. There's a couple of the other guys as well that went to go play for Chelsea and stuff. So we were never that level of, but we were like more entrepreneurial. So we went a different path.
So you were still known.
We were still known
on the playground.
Yeah,
but I was like, I know Kai. Like,
but not the super cool kid. Like, yo, he's gonna go and play for this. But you know, we were always there and around, and we knew a lot of people, so we just leveraged that, right? We leveraged our personalities, we leveraged, you know, the networks that we had, and we just leveraged that in terms of making it a really good event and kind of seeing a gap in the market, because there was nothing in the area at the time. So it was really easy for us, I guess, to kind of capture that market and build it out. And then we went to university, and it kind of went to different universities, and it kind of went from there. But
and so what then happened at university? How did your events business
that finished?
You know what I mean? Like, how did that then dwindle down? And then what did you then do when you went to university? You're still gonna have that itch, aren't you?
Yeah, I've always had the itch. Yeah. So the events business, obviously went to university. My friend went to Kent. I was in Queen Mary. We had to get serious. The first year,
we got grades together now.
Literally, we had to get serious. It's like, yo, bro, we got to do this. We got to make it happen. So yeah, went to university. First year, I remember having a blast. I think I barely passed my first year. Like, I just didn't study whatsoever. just I guess the complete freedom. My mum is
Did you live out while you were at first year?
first year, yeah, I lived
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I lived
Yeah.
out. So it was
Well,
like
it is big independent. Like, it is a big
huge
step.
independence.
Whenever you go from like secondary school, living at home,
yeah,
first time
Strict
moving
mother.
away, going, and like it is like a whole era like freedom
Yep.
that like, you just don't realize until you're in your room and there's nobody waiting for
Nobody
you outside.
bothering you.
Like
Yeah.
there is literally nobody will knock on that door.
Yeah.
And it's just it.
Literally,
You know? Like unless it's a friend being like, "Hey, you want to come out? Why you want to do something?"
I remember every Sunday morning, even Saturday morning, mom would wake me up to come and like sweep the stairs. Like she would just find something for me to do. Do you know what I mean? She didn't like to see me resting. And
instilling the hustle.
Instilling the hustle like in me from an early age. So yeah, I remember like waking up and I was just freedom. It was absolutely great. I loved it. it.
No, I'm just also thinking of like what fun things we should get you to do. It would be like, I don't have anything. Go clean the neighbor's car.
literally, just go and do something. I don't like you sitting down. Don't like you resting. So yeah, that was good times. Really, really good times.
So what did you start anything at uni? You know, was there any like memories of a little even if it's like a tiny little thing, you know, you went into like another award that you won, or you got involved in this little accelerator, or you tried something even like within coursework, and so was anything there that like kind of like again like put you towards the path that you're closer on now?
Yeah, funny. We actually used to do tuition.
Yeah.
So not necessarily me myself, but we used to like
but that's the business.
Yeah, we used to get tutors and basically teach people. So again, like middleman business. I very much believe in middleman businesses. It's like they and you know when I realized this as well, there was this film that I watched and it was about the guys that created. It's a bit of a nasty one, not nasty, naughty one, but the guys that created you know, the card payment processing, right? So so before, if you were paying for something online, right, it would say exactly the company it was coming from, right?
Okay.
So let's say you McDonald's Limited, it would be like McDonald's Limited. But for like, I was watching a film about it. It was, I can't remember what the film was called. But if you were like, let's say, like guys that were, I don't know, watching naughty movies or whatever, like they changed what the movie was to be like a casual name, so you wouldn't know. So those middlemen, by creating that company, they actually end up becoming billionaires because every single time people were making that payment, they literally took like 0.1, 0.25%, right? And across, you know, millions and millions of transactions a day, like you can make a lot of money. So I'm very much, you know, interested in like middleman businesses.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why we started up that tuition service. It was good for us. You know, we had intelligent people that needed to make money. But the only thing that didn't really work though was that, you know, after a while the teachers would go directly to the kids.
Yeah.
So it didn't really work as a business model long term. It was great at the start, but like after like 5 or 6 sessions and they know each other, they're like, why do we need these guys?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's the thing with a lot of these kind of businesses now, even like Urban Massage, etc. You know, by the time you build up a relationship with the masseuse, you'll just stop working with the with Urban Massage. You just go directly to the masseuse. So
yeah, it's an important lesson to learn whenever you're doing service businesses.
Yeah.
And like you're working within like a structure and a team. It's where like the legal side as well comes important on like contracts and non-competes and
exactly
like things like this in order to be able to protect you whenever you're doing stuff with them. But as a student, you know, you're just doing it for
just
like
doing it for the vibes.
Yeah.
It's like vibe coding.
vibe business building.
Vibe business building. Yeah.
And then when you graduated, well, what then? Because you started building the first business for the tokenization real estate in 2018.
2019, yeah.
And then before then, like what then like got you into the industry? Where was your initial start?
Yeah, I mean, I've always like so my first job ever, I worked for this place called IFDS. So they did like it was, do you know, at the time I was just happy to get a grad scheme. So after I finished university, finished the last day of my exams, I remember feeling like just so jobless. Like, you know, like absolutely nothing that I had to do.
Just feeling jobless.
Literally, just like sat down, like, what am I gonna do next? What's the
I don't
plan
even
for
have any
life?
stairs to clean. I
Literally,
live in a flat.
No stairs to clean. I'm jobless. I'm here. Like, what am I gonna do? So I literally took, and this I took every single day, and every single day I applied to like I want to say like 30, 40 grad schemes a day.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It's for
tough.
even like right now.
It's even worse now.
Like it's even worse now. You know, like being able to try and get a role out of university, especially in like big companies.
Yeah.
Because they have like hundreds of people, like thousands of people applying to get these roles. And like with LinkedIn, it's so easy to apply, and it's like one click apply.
The one click apply doesn't do anything. There's no point doing it. Like literally, there's no point. I don't think I've ever got anything from a one click apply.
Like, it is difficult. I was lucky. I went on a quite unique like journey out of it because I had 100% success rate in my interviews.
Wow.
I had 2 interviews and I got 2 jobs.
Oh wow! Straight out of uni.
Yeah, straight out of uni. I got a job. But
you got to take a leaf out of your book.
Well, okay. Well, here was the tip. I found it on Facebook. So they were hiring and they had the role on Facebook on their Facebook page. And that's how I found it. And I found the company organically because they were a Airbnb company. So they had like 40 properties in Edinburgh. Nice. And they're renting them out on Airbnb. And I like real estate. That was actually the industry I was going to go in after uni.
Yeah.
And I was just scrolling around Airbnb, just like browsing. And then I noticed they had logos on their page. And I was like, I like that. I like that you got your watermark on like your photos of the properties to like show that it's your brand. And like people can then like associate and trust with it. And I looked it up. I saw they had a Facebook page. And I looked it up. And I saw they had a job section. I was like, operations manager. And I was like,
I can do that.
Why not? And I was like, at the time I was on holiday with my parents at a caravan park. And I was living back home in London because I went to university of Edinburgh. And then I was just randomly just like applied for it, went into it. And they got back to me like pretty quick.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, let's have a call. And I was like, all right, then. And like basically the next day I had a call with them. And I just went in like the little caravan. I went into the bedroom and I just started talking to them. My parents could hear everything because it's a caravan.
Yeah.
And I gave the interview. And I just said, hello, this is me. This is what I've done. And they were like, I like it. And they were like, we'll hire you. And then I was trying to play on this, like I wasn't doing this, but I played on it.
Yeah.
Where I was like, yeah, I'm an economics graduate. I'm going into investment banking. You know, like their starting salary is like 50K. You know, like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be like stepping away. But I like you guys. This sounds pretty cool around it. I'm interested. And they're like, yeah. What do you want? I was like, it's got to be like 30K at least. And they're like, done.
Yeah.
And I got like a graduate role, 30K. And I was like, should I do it? And my parents are like, well, we'll get you out of the house. You know, so then like
get out, Stephen.
But like that was like similar to uni, you know, like when you've just graduated, you know, like getting out of the house again and being able to have that own freedom and knowing now that it's all me.
Yeah.
You know, before I'd done maintenance loan at university, that was helping do it. And my parents were still sending me a little bit to be able to help a bit. And it was, I did tutoring all the time. So I was like, made up my own money, bit of there, bit of here. And then together it was like, cool, now I can afford it.
Nice.
But then now it was like full just me. And then I was able to live out there. And then my second interview was with Zebu. And and I got that job.
Oh, yeah.
Out of like Flim, but like I got that. And then
straight into Web3.
Straight into Web3. That was November 2021. Straight into Web3. So I graduated in 2021. So like the June.
Yeah.
Got that job in the June. And then like worked there until that November 2021 when I got the job for Zebu.
Nice.
So I had 100% success rate in my interviews.
He's showing his age here. I'm a lot older than him, aren't I? That's so good. Do you know why that's so good, right? Like even going back to right at the start of your story was like you took a completely different approach to what everybody else was doing to find that job. And that's what I think is so important. I feel like everybody, it's like sometimes it's people like sheep sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And you literally
are sheep.
Most people are sheep.
Like there's a reason why the founders are more interesting because you're not sheep.
Yeah.
This definition of a founder is you're doing something that nobody else has done.
I also feel like there's a bit of laziness in it as well.
What, in being a founder?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
because so I'll tell you a little bit about this, right? I always find ways to try and take shortcuts with doing things.
I have a perfect quote for this. So like my dad told me a similar thing when I was like growing up. And you know, like there's a couple like sayings that your parents say to you that like you remember. You know, like a random one that my dad told me was like, there was,
and you'll
like
tell your son it.
Well, yeah, probably. And like there was like a crumb on the floor or something on the floor, and it was in the house and it'd been there a couple of days. And I was like, why has nobody picked this up? And it was like, well, it was your crumb. So if you don't pick it up, nobody else is gonna pick it up for you. You know, you're gonna be the one to do it.
Yeah.
And then the one he told me about like this was because I'm kind of similar. You know, I'm the smartest lazy person. Like I will figure out the easy way to do it.
Exactly.
And then that was what he was saying was you give the hardest problem to the laziest person because they'll figure out the easiest way to do it.
Because nobody wants to take a lot of time doing something that's difficult. I'm trying to get done as quickly as possible so I can go do something else.
I want my results, man.
That's it. Results. I'm results driven. I always say that to my team. I don't care about how you get done. Keep it ethical. All I care about is results. Just get it done.
Glad you added to keep ethical.
Yeah, always keep it ethical. Always. But yeah, that's my whole mantra. Is just get it done. I don't want to argue about little small movements. So what are we gonna do? What is the result? Are we hitting it? Are we getting it? Let's get it.
Let's get it.
That's that. So yeah, your story is like super interesting as well. Like Zubu is like a great first place to come into because you get thrown straight into the deep end of Web3, and I'm assuming you would have met like loads of amazing people, like building amazing things. Like what kind of happened post Zebu, and then how did you? I feel like I'm interviewing you now.
Oh yeah, it switched. Wait, what's happened? Well, I'll answer this and we'll look back.
It's all good.
But like for me, there was no post Zebu.
Okay.
So post Zebu was Super Team. So I got poached from Zebu.
Nice.
To like be
everybody
part
likes
of
getting
Super
poached.
Team.
It's good. It's good for the ego, isn't it?
Well, it's not good for the contracts.
Yeah, true.
But then that's what I went like straight there. But you do learn a lot because you are like agency side.
Yeah,
I think it's the same for anyone who's wanting to get into an industry.
Yeah.
If you work for a company that services other companies, then you see a lot of the industry because you're not working on a project. You're working on 5 at once. And then you're not just working on those 5 over 5 years. You know, over the course of 2 years, you're working on 30, 40. You know, like, and so you do get like a good like inroads into the ecosystem, but it still matters what you do outside.
100%.
You know, so outside, I was still like getting into the ecosystem. I loved NFTs, so I was going into that entire world. I joined the DAO. I then took over the DAO. You know, like I was like going deep into the world outside of it anyway, and that was because I was keen. You know, I wanted to be a part of it. Like I saw that desire, so like founder mentality when you're going into it, and then I couldn't help myself but solve problems. You know, so I ended up taking over that DAO because they were like, "You guys, nobody's doing this right." Like,
Cap was like, "I'm gonna do it right. Everybody, get out of my way."
But then that's what you do as a founder. You know, you find that gap and then you have to fix it. You know, it's the itch. You know, you can't help it.
That's the thing.
You know, I need to solve it.
Yeah,
you can't like share that with me and then be like, "What we want me to do? Nothing." No, like speak to somebody else if you want that to happen.
And you know what? Talking about it's just such a funny thing because I felt like whenever I was working for a company and I wasn't working on something that I was building myself, I would always get the itch after 12 months. So like I did a whole bunch of like consultancy for like pretty much every like bank in the UK, like Virgin Media, Vodafone. I did gambling for a bit. I did healthcare for a bit. I did almost every single industry. And it was because of boredom. It was because like I'll do a project, I'll do it well, I'll usually contract. After like a year, I'd be like, what do I want to do now? I've got to go and do something else. I don't want to do a whole nother like project at the same company. I want to try something different. And it just wasn't fulfilling me. It just wasn't fulfilling me, like, especially when you work in like a large multinational, just being like a small cog in a huge machine. So that's why I've just always wanted to build. I've always wanted to like do impactful things, right? And that's just me.
And like, what? Just out of curiosity, what were you doing for those companies? You know, what were the operational lifts?
So my first role, actually, just going back to that, IFDS was so they basically do like administration for every single bank in the UK. I'd never heard of them. You know, there's companies that are everywhere, but you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
They were literally one of those companies. And I remember the first week I came in, I had to do. They gave me you had a week at each role. So a week as a BA, like business analyst, a week as a project manager, a week as a developer, and a week as a tester. So I did like coding in university. I can code, but I just, it's vibe coding, man. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. testing again, didn't really like it. And I was kind of like, okay, I like business analysis. It was kind of like more thinking, kind of more solving problems, speaking to people as well, which is like a thing that I love doing. And then project management was just something that I like doing because I kind of felt like I had my own little thing that I was running, right? So I kind of went down those two paths. So what I did pretty much is like management consultancy at like, Barclays, HSBC, Virgin Media, Vodafone, EFG Private Bank. I worked in South Africa as well.
Nice.
For like a year at First National Bank. That was great. Fantastic place.
Yeah,
I actually wouldn't mind living there at some point.
Especially in the winter. In
our winter.
Yeah, our winter.
Our winter's their summer, and it's it's a great place. Fantastic place. So yeah, did that. And then but I've always had something that I've been doing on the side. I feel like I always have to do something else.
Yeah.
I don't like resting. Fair. I don't like resting. It's weird. I just don't like to rest.
Well, because you kind of get home and you almost have like two options. It's like, do I sit here in front of the TV and I watch something, whether that's a TV show, a movie, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is. I'm just like sitting here watching something.
Yeah,
it's almost like today's age of consumerism.
Mm-hmm.
Or
that's actually funny. Away? Today's age of consumerism is your attention, literally.
It will. Oh yeah. Attention is like it's what every company needs. You know, like it's why I quite like marketing, because the marketing is like I am engineering my campaign to get your attention.
Yes.
My goal is to figure out how to get it.
Social engineering us.
Yeah, 100%. I am social engineering you. If you're watching this, the caption, the lighting, I'm designing the catch. Because there's so much like behavioral behind it as well, of like how do I capture attention, the psychology in order to do that. And also learnings. There's a lot of analysis. You've got to be able to see across the whole picture what everyone else is doing. Notice what's working. And being able to learn from that and bring it in. And you've then got to find your unique kind of angle in that. So like a big thing to talk about to any companies who are promoting is go direct with your marketing. That was something that Akshay BD talked about at the NCMO Summit in New York earlier on. And he was like saying to all the ecosystem teams, go direct. Don't hire an agency to do your marketing for you. Get the founder to write a script about what they're passionate about. Record that, and that's what you're sharing. Like really try and push forward what your true why is, and then wrap around that this whole mission and all the different forms of content that you can do to create around that, and then learn internally over what works to bring in your customers, your community, your kind of inner base. Don't outsource it. Get it straight from the top.
And do you know what? I actually learned that from you. So like very recently, you might have seen, I don't know, but I
did see it, and I saw your little tweet.
Yeah, I got that from you.
Yeah, there we go.
You mentioned something, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a sprint. In hindsight, I was like, maybe I should make it 100 days, but actually, 365 days is very ambitious, and I want to do something very ambitious. So I've started a 365-day sprint where I'm gonna post an update. I'm just, I've never been good at like posting about myself and what I'm doing. I'm more interested in just building quietly, and if you know kind of situation. But I'm starting to understand the value of building in public. Right.
Founder-led marketing.
Founder-led marketing. Very, very important. So I started a 365-day sprint where every single day I post an update about what I'm doing, what Global Chain is doing, and our movements going forward. So today, this is going to go in number 3. Day 3.
There we go. Day 3.
So yeah, very, very, very exciting stuff. And I'm super happy and super excited to share the story with everyone.
No, it's going to be very cool.
Yeah.
My only tip.
There we go. What am I doing wrong?
It's not.
I'm joking. Tell me.
Post on LinkedIn as well.
Do you know what? I thought about that today, but I don't think I should post every single day on LinkedIn. Do it. Okay, I'll do it.
Do you know why?
Why?
You'll grow faster on LinkedIn than X.
I probably agree. And so I'm gonna say that
it's just as valuable.
It is just as valuable. Probably more valuable. Maybe not. It depends on what your audience is.
Yeah, I would probably say for Web3, X is still more valuable, but LinkedIn is getting a lot more valuable. Like when you're hiring for a global chain, in like a year, your personal LinkedIn will get you that higher.
Yep, that's fair.
And when we're talking about building a business, the talent, the team
is the most important thing.
Is what makes a business.
And do you know what? I feel like I feel like when people are fundraising, you see all these guys, right, that have, and it's frustrating sometimes because you see all these guys that have got like zero traction. They haven't ever done anything. You know, they've just kind of come along. I think there was no shade, but I think there was some.
No shade is code. I'm about to drop some serious shade on someone.
I think MoonPay like bought out like a stablecoin infrastructure that had done like nothing, right? And the money that they bought out for was like crazy. But then it was like the team. I think the team have had like exits before. They're like well versed in the space. They've got a great network. So what you're saying about the team is super important. People a lot of the time they just back the founder, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing things in public, they don't know that you're the founder. They don't know what you're capable of, and they don't know what you can do. So yeah, that little bit of alpha, pretty much, it's something I knew. There's like loads of things that you know you have to do, but you kind of like push them like down the list of importance. But this is not something that should be pushed down the list of importance, in my opinion.
No, and it's great to hear that you're kicking off the challenge because you're also then taking the community to be there, like be your accountability.
That's it.
So
I have to post every day now. I've said it. I can't not go and post. I'm going to be looking like a guy that doesn't stay true to his word, and nobody likes a guy that doesn't stay true to his word. So it's like every single day now I'm like, okay, cool, what am I going to post on X? I'm going to apply that to LinkedIn as well. I'm going to say I have been doing the 365-day challenge.
We'll just announce it again.
And on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, and just be like, oh, PS, this is day 3.
Yeah. By the way, you missed all the juiciness. This is day 3.
Because like people won't see like everything in one go.
Yeah.
You know, they'll probably sometimes they'll see day 8 when it's day 16.
Yeah.
You know, but they'll just see day 8 for the first time.
And do you know who did that really well as well? There's this guy, you've probably, even if you don't follow him, you've seen him, and he's been taking ice bath every single day for now like 2 years.
Oh wow.
Right? And he started it. I think when he started it, I remember seeing him. I didn't see him on day 1, but I maybe saw him on like day 20. And he only had around like 30,000 followers. And now he's got a couple million.
Oh, look at Beeple.
Like
it's another key example. You know, you do something daily and it will pick up.
Compound interest.
And it's just about another time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's what's really important for people to understand is consistency is the biggest winner. Like, that is what killed most people.
Yeah.
They won't be consistent.
Showing up every day, even when we don't want to.
And like one thing Alex Hormozi talks about is some people underestimate the amount of volume they need to put in.
Yeah.
Like, for him, he always tells the story of when he was giving out leaflets, and he gave out like 500 leaflets. And the guy was like, and the guy who got that tip from was like, what? You gave out 5,000? I gave out 20,000 leaflets yesterday. And it was like, oh, fuck. And it was like, you sometimes sincerely underestimate the amount of volume you have to put in to these sort of things.
Yeah.
So you posting one time a day.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a voice or like there's going to be a conversation in like a few months where it's going to be like, I should be posting 3 times a day.
Yeah. I posted twice today though.
Good.
No, yesterday. I posted twice yesterday.
Progress.
So I did my day 2 post, and I did another post.
Well, you should 100% have those.
Yeah.
You know, like, are you doing any like Pacific time or like every single morning I'm posting?
It's evenings because I like to see what's happened throughout the day. You never know what alpha's going to come by the evening. Fine,
but it does also leave space, and then in the day you can do the content as well.
True.
You know, like when you and it's a muscle.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get better at the muscle. But like you notice people who are like hyperactive, that it's like thought to matter. And as long as it's something which would be valuable to somebody reading, you know, that when they're reading it, whether it's entertainment value, or it's kind of like educational value, or it's just awareness or whatever it is, but it's like, I'm reading this for a purpose.
Yeah.
And entertainment is a big purpose. You know, comedians exist for a whole reason.
Yeah.
You know, like people want to laugh, they want to have a good time, but also education exists for a real reason. And it just that just then picks up how much time and energy you're putting into it. So you have to find your own path and what works best for you. So I would also like I would tell you to think about as you're going through the journey, what is Kai's voice?
Yeah.
You know, what does Kai talk about? Because by the end of it, you want to not only have daily posting as organic, as just like that's part of you now, but you almost want like to get to a level of like hourly posting as organic. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean like literally every hour you're posting.
Yeah, I was a bit scared
But
for a
it,
second.
but it means at any hour you could post.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that you're waiting for the end of the day to do
True.
your recap. It's that you are now in the habit and you
Mm,
now have the confidence that when something happens, you talk about it
yeah.
and you share your opinions on it, you share your thoughts of it to the world. And that now becomes ingrained in you because it's not about year 1, it's about year 5, year 10.
100%.
And you want to use the challenge as a way to enforce the habit. And the habit will then help you kind of drive
Yeah.
and to go out there. Because I love this like little like meme picture of this guy digging for diamonds, and he gets right up next to the diamonds, and he turns away.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's what happens when people do these kind of content challenges,
Mm.
is that they get to the end of it, and they take a step back,
But you
and
know
they
what?
forget the whole point of it.
That's the reason why I did it for so long.
Mm.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
there's that thing, right? 30 days to build a habit. And I feel like that's why it's 75 hard. It's not 30 hard. Right? You do your 75 days, and the hope is that you're ingrained in going to the gym so much that it just becomes part of your lifestyle. And 365 days is a very long challenge, but I'm just hoping it becomes part of my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the thing about it as well is like at the start, I was kind of worried about like, how am I gonna look? I might look corny, you know. I might look weird. You know, I think people, I don't generally tend to feel worried about like how I'm perceived, but there was definitely a moment of like, oh, do I want to do this? Do I want to be this vulnerable?
Yeah.
Do I want to potentially fail? I'm not going to fail, but do I want to potentially?
Not an option.
Not an option. It's not happening. Do I potentially fail and then look like an idiot in front of everyone? But at the same time, who cares?
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, like none of us are gonna make it out alive anyway, right? Let's just a bit morbid, but let's just do it. So that's why I decided like I'm just gonna do it, threw myself in head first, and actually it has galvanized the team as well, right? It's like energy is contagious. That's why I like to be around the right types of people.
Yeah.
So me having and pushing this energy into the team now has meant that the team is driving a lot more as well. So it's fantastic. It was a great move. And thank you for the low-key alpha.
And like, so you talk about the Global Chain team.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the team. You know, who's on the team?
Tell us about the team. We have got an absolutely stacked team.
Whew.
We have myself. First and foremost, great. We have Collar, who's our COO. He went to Kent and then went to Imperial, did his MBA. He's similar kind of like background to me, transformational technology. Worked. I an important thing about working with people is that I find a lot of people look for co-founders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes businesses fail because the co-founder that you have is not the person that you can trust. So it's very, very, very important for me. I've known that he's like a brother. I've known him since the age of 11, and I trust him wholeheartedly. I know that there's never going to be issues with when we sell the company, and we're it's just that's never going to be a problem. So I know that I can trust him to do what he's supposed to do, and he knows that he can trust me to do what I'm supposed to do. And we have Sonia, who you've seen. Sonia's great, our growth lead, absolutely fantastic, diligent, get stuff done. Timely manner, any hour. Literally, Sonia was messaging me last night at 12 o'clock talking about, some of the rebranding that we're looking to do. Peace, who is probably one of the smartest women that I've ever met. She's absolutely cracked. And I'm honestly very, very privileged to have her on my team. She handles our products, so she's leading all of the product side. And it's funny because the thing about me is that I can be a bit micromanagey sometimes, because when you have a particular vision of how you want things to go, and it's taken me a while to kind of like give the reins to the team, but it's good now because I trust everyone in the team. I still oversee, don't get me wrong, and I still critique in a polite way, but now I've got a lot more trust in those kind of core like people on the team. Then we have Lucci, who is our like lead dev. She's cracked. I actually hired her because I ran a hackathon in Nigeria, the Africa Hack, about 4-5 months ago, because I'm not going to tell the story, but the last devs did me dirty. But yes, I actually hired her from a hackathon that I did, and she built a bridge from SVM to EVM in 72 hours. So like proper solid. Two other devs on our team which are great. And then we have Z who assists with like some compliance stuff for us. So yeah, I think we've got pretty much everything like covered end to end. On the sell side, it's been good for us in the sense that a lot of our sales will kind of come from like our network. But what we want to do going forward is we want to be a lot more aggressive.
Mhm.
You know, once the platform's like ready, by Friday, by Friday, and actually be more aggressive in just onboarding SMEs. You know, we kind of
Yeah.
want to be like a mix between a Mercury for emerging markets, like a really cool neobank slash like a bridge infrastructure play, right?
Yeah.
So we'll own the platform that all of the large, multinationals across Africa will be utilizing, but we'll also own all of the rails, the compliance, um, and the banking specifically for that region, for not only like brick and mortar companies to use it, but also for Web3 companies to use it. So that's the play, that's the future goal, that's what we're building. We've got the capability to build it, we've got the team to build it, we're getting the money to build it, and then we're gonna build it. That's it. There's no such word as it's not happening. It's definitely happening.
And like share with everyone a little bit of like what you've already done so far.
Yeah, 100%.
Like in terms of numbers.
Yeah, numbers.
In the stats.
Stats are great. Stats are great. So we've like basically facilitated transactions for over 100 businesses so far, predominantly OTC. But we've done to date $57 million in transaction volume. Which is great. I mean, the first couple of months it was rough, right? I think the first month we did like 120,000 in transaction
But
volume.
that's still pretty good.
It's good, but with the connections we have, we can do so much more. We can do so much more. So the first couple of months were rough. Obviously getting regulated. So we're regulated now as a virtual asset service provider out of Europe. We're going for additional licenses as well out of like Nigeria. We're going to get an EMI license as part of the next fundraise we're doing. But we've basically managed to work with some large businesses across like Europe and Africa, from palm plantations to airlines to a large real estate company that routes a lot of our transactions through them. So it's been good. It's been up and down. Our best month has been $11.6 million, which is absolutely fantastic. There was a bit of a dip for us around like Trump going crazy and deciding he was gonna like tariff everyone. So a lot of like transactions that we were expecting to happen didn't necessarily come through, as people were like holding their money to be like, oh, what happens in the region? But what we're seeing a lot of like, businesses, like a use case for us really is people that want to pay for like their kids' student fees.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like internationally.
Which way is that?
It's like Nigeria to UK.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the student fees in Nigeria are not that much. So it's like that's like a key use case for us. And then the other big use case is like exporters. So exporters that are paying for are paying for the goods, and then also like real estate, right? So a lot of real estate purchases, and also purchasing machinery as well for their real estate.
And again, which way is it going?
Yeah, so it kind of goes both ways, right?
Yep.
Like I would say Africa to like basically UK, a couple other places in Europe. In Africa, it's predominantly Nigeria and South Africa. We've had a couple of like transactions out of Chad, out of Congo, Kenya. We've actually just today onboarded an absolutely huge like digital marketing client that has $6 million that they want to move.
Ooh.
So it's like I've been waiting for. Do you know what? So, what the thing is, right? Is that so we did B2C and we did B2B. B2C is great because all over the timeline, you're going to have loads of people raving about your product, but you might not necessarily do a lot of volume.
Yeah.
B2B, you could have some of the biggest clients in the world. And I guess why I was inspired, there's a guy that I know, and he facilitates payments for Coca-Cola in Africa. And they take up like 85% of his volume. but he makes around $13 million a year just from that one client, right? So like B2B is good because you don't need a lot of clients. You just need some really, really big clients. And it's been good for us because some of the clients that we've been onboarding have been great. Like I said, we were onboarding one of the largest like digital agencies in Kenya as well, which is fantastic for us, and they've got a lot of money to move. So super excited. But
That's
the
very
great thing
cool.
about it is that it's all going to be automated soon. So we won't have to do all of these like deal rooms and like Telegram chats and WhatsApp chats and like calls to basically facilitate the transactions. We'll just onboard them straight into our platform and let them do it, you know, on themselves. So it's great.
So let's talk about more about the platform.
Yeah, sure.
You know, what does that look like? What's the user experience going to be?
Absolutely. So we've got basically we set it up so you have virtual IBANs across Europe, United States. You have a euro account, a pound account, and a dollar account, right? And you can deposit, you know, local currency into your virtual IBAN that's issued for you. You can then on-ramp into stables. You can make payments cross-border in stables. You can pay to 16 African countries, right, via stables. We also are just integrating our Nigerian IBANs as well, which is fantastic, right? Because it means that like that OTC flow, initially for like the MVP on the platform, we were just going to do like on-ramps of like kind of 20K maximum. But virtual IBANs means that we can do like $500,000 on like one transaction right now.
Very cool.
As we continue to unlock further compliance so that we can like do like the larger scale, you know, kind of like 2 more, 3 more transactions. So that's great for us. We've also got like additional business tools as well. So you can receive stables direct to your wallet and off-ramp that directly to your bank account.
Cool.
We are integrating yield partners as well. So we're actually going to have like one of the better yield offerings for like the stable coins that you hold. So the thing about like Nigerian businesses, right, and African businesses is that part of their strategy is to hold US dollars, right, as like a hedge against their local currency. And kind of going back to that initial example I gave was, I didn't give the whole example, but it was like $30,000 that I needed to move from my bank account in Nigeria to the UK. And a lot of the times the banks don't actually have the dollar liquidity there and available, so they have to go and source it. So the good thing is that even on your stables in your bank account in Nigeria, you don't get a lot of money. You get like 2 to 3%, whereas on your naira, right, you can get up to 15% because it's so volatile. So I'm sure the traders are making a lot of money trading it in the banks, right? But the good thing about us is that we'll be able to provide a better yield on your stables, right, by integrating with some partners that we have. And B, it means that you'll basically be able to have unlimited dollar liquidity. So you can swap as much as you want from your local currency, whether that be Naira, South African Rand, Kenyan shilling, into stables. And then you can pay out to wherever you want to pay out, like pretty much around the world. You know, with some of the partners that we have, you know, in America, we're just getting a partner as well in Latin America for Latin American payouts. We don't get a lot of requests for them, but it's an API, so it's quite good for us to integrate that. And then something else that we've seen a lot more requests for, actually, particularly since like the Trump tariffs, as we're calling them, is like that Africa Asia corridor, right? So we're seeing like more and more trade, right, that is happening between those two corridors. And I think over the next 5 years, specifically looking at like how Africa is probably the only continent that is going to experience growth, right? There's going to be huge flows through that corridor as well, as they like look to like purchase machinery, you know, kind of look to obtain like cheap goods, you know, send out products to refine them and bring them back in. So yeah, I'm very, very, very bullish about, you know, what the market's going to look like in the next couple of years.
That's very exciting. You know, you're gearing yourself up for the next part of the evolution. And I think it's interesting. Like, where do you see yourself as other competitors? Like, if we look at specifically the corridor over at UK and Nigeria, and you're talking about now you're getting your virtual IBAN, so you can take on more. About it's like, what are the other competitors? Who else is playing in that market?
Yeah, I'd say probably a competitor that's quite, you know, that's, I wouldn't say quite good, but are okay. Are Juicyway. Juicyway are, I mean, they've got a couple of licenses that we're attaining to get. They just recently got their IMTO license in Nigeria. They've got Canadian MSB as well. So those are two licenses that we're looking to get. We're definitely looking to get a license in Nigeria quite aggressively and quite quickly. But their platform's clean. There's a few things that I think they can do better that we are doing better. But they're a direct competitor kind of within the region. And then kind of separately looking at, I guess, where we want to go to as well, because they're probably just like a little bit higher than where we are. But I like to look way higher than where we are. And if I look a lot higher, I probably think of like BVNK, right? I think of Yellow Card. I think of Busher now as well, who are just rolling out like a stablecoin payment platform. And for us, really, like I'm saying, there's not, if you look at Europe and you look at America, there's a lot of platforms that, are basically building the infrastructure. But if you look at Africa, there are not a lot of platforms that have got the right licensing in order to build the infrastructure yet, right? So by us doing that, we're basically perfectly positioning ourselves to get to the likes of, like where BVNK and Yellow Card are now, and to actually own a part of that market segment in an aggressively, quickly growing, economy where, we can grab a very, 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 very good market share of that as well. And like super interestingly, like we're signing a couple of interesting deals as well. Like, so there's a diaspora mortgage that's coming out with one of our property partners, and essentially that enables people in the UK and in Europe. We didn't get the contract for USA, unfortunately, but in the UK and Europe to basically take out a mortgage in Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana, and then you can pay every month, right? So rather than like typically now, if you're going to buy a property in Nigeria, it's like 30, 30, 40. So you pay 30% up front, pay another 30%, and then before you can like move into the property, you pay like 40% to get in. So this basically enables you to take out a mortgage and pay monthly. And we've got the contract to basically be accepting the payments for those monthly like mortgage payments, right? Which unlocks a whole new opportunity, because there's a lot of people that want to get mortgages. And even me, I would love to get a mortgage in like Nigeria to buy a house, because I don't want to put 30% down on a $300,000 home. I don't do that. In the UK you put down 10%, 5%, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to put down 30-40%. And it has to be done within like a year as well, so it's quite aggressive.
Yeah.
So this really unlocks like a whole new wave of like people that will be interested in A, buying a property, B, moving money, and C, actually bringing additional capital into the region, which only is going to have a knock-on effect by having more people that actually get access to financial services.
That's very cool. When even when you're talking about like what's your secret in building your company, it sounds like for you, like type of contracts like that's right. That's like a really strong edge you're able to take.
Yeah.
Because those then homeowners, as you said, are people who are moving. They're probably also businesses.
Yeah.
Business owners who are like, I can do this for my business as well.
Yeah.
I can do this for my friend's business. Like that's where like the compounding gets really powerful. You're able to tap into another side of a market and be able to do that. Yeah, make sure you mention that in your deck.
Yeah, it's on the new Deck rebrand.
There we go.
I've been working on it. I'm gonna get you to critique it again. He told me it was trash. He didn't.
I did. Well, because even when we did our pitch roast on Friday, because I think it's a lot of founders do. They don't shout loud enough about what is like hot about them, and like what they're doing that nobody else is doing, because you're so deep in it, and like you want to tell the story and you want to be able to say, this is what we're doing, this is why it works, this is why we do this. But then sometimes you just need that extra like third eye, just be able to kind of like, hey, but I don't care about all of this, you can go straight to this. I think if I remember right, like one of the things that they talked about when they did the pitch roast, so Robbie, CEO of Animoca Brands, he was like, you could have skipped to slide 6 and started there.
Yeah.
Because like we knew what you're talking about there. Just like tell us the source, give us the sizzle.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I just feel like I played it a little bit safe with that deck. It was very much, it told a story, but it was a safe story. It was
it's a Web 2
this is what stablecoins
well.
It's a Web 2 story. You know, I was trying to, but if I'm speaking to people in Web 3, I don't need to give them all that fluff. I just need to tell them, this is what we're doing. This is why we're the best, and this is how much volume we've done. And that is a much better, more appetizing, more appealing story to anybody that is gonna have a look at what we're doing. So I'm definitely taking that feedback on board. Very, very thankful to all of the judges that came along. Very thankful to Robbie Young as well. So definitely listening out.
No, but and it's gonna be the start of what you can be able to create. You know, like now with this new platform, you know, everything you've done so far, it's just the beginning.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you only just got started.
Every day is day one.
No, but I appreciate you being able to come and like jump on with us to be able to
Appreciate
kind of
being
like
there.
share this story. We're gonna be working together now in this
Course.
final week to get it all submitted.
Yep.
Again, Maddie, watch out, another one coming for you. And I appreciate Kai being able to jump on. Was there any final words?
Final words are, you know, if you're building something, just keep building.
Hmm.
You know, like you can get 1,000 no's and you can get one yes that changes your life. So that's my final thoughts, my final comments, and don't let anyone discourage you from what you're doing as well. And finally, thanks to Cap.
No, of course. Awesome.
Let's
Pleasure.
get it.